Daf Lamed of Torah summary. So we were talking about the difference between the 7 shepherds and the 8 princes, and now we link that back to Chanukah. So on Chanukah, the Greeks made the oil impure, which means that our Chachma was impure, and therefore we had to reach from beyond to Makif energy, to the surrounding beyond energy. And this is something which is the job of the 8 princes, which are Makif, not the 7 shepherds, which are the Pnimi, the internal energy. And this is also the difference between garments and food, that garments is the makif and food is internal, similar to the sense of smell versus sense of taste, that taste is internal and smell is the surrounding energy. Now, this is also explains the debate between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, whether to light on the first night 1 and go all the way till 8, which is what Beis Hillel say, or light on the first night 8 and go all the way till 1, like Beis Shammai say. So Beis Shammai say that since that we compare it to the bulls of Succos, since we're trying to bring the makif energy down, so just like with Succos, which is also this makif, the surrounding light, like the sukkah that surrounds us. So we start with 13 to give the full-blown strength and there of makif energy, and then as the forces of darkness and impurity are diminished, so then it goes down till every day. And the same thing with Chanukah. We should start off with 8, which is also a beyond number. 7 is nature, 8 is beyond, similar to 13 being beyond, and then go down each day. Whereas Beis Hillel say, no, we have to add in holiness. Why? Because Beis Hillel would respond that Succos is a biblical mitzvah, and therefore Hashem can help to have the makif, the greatest spiritual energy to destroy impurity right away. But Chanukah, because it's D'Rabbanan, because it's rabbinic, that means it's more human endeavor, human involvement, and therefore we have to work up to 8, starting from 1. This is also the difference between Pesach and Sefiras Haomer. With Pesach, it's Hashem took us out of Egypt, and spiritually Hashem just gives us the full revelation, full energy, everything we need. Whereas Sefiras Haomer, every day we're working to develop. We start with 1 and then 2, and every day we have to develop more. This is also the difference between accepting Hashem's yoke, accepting Hashem as king, versus accepting the specific mitzvahs. So the accepting Hashem as king in general, that's like the mirror, and that's like when we're in a place of darkness. Whereas accepting the mitzvahs, mitzvahs is the place of light and connected to 7. This is also the difference between, like we discussed yesterday, between the wick versus the fuel. That the fuel on one hand is what makes the fire burn, but it can't be too close to the fire. It has to be the wick in between. And this is also like the wick is the neshama, whereas the fuel, the oil, is the mitzvah. And the idea is that we have to have the neshama, the involvement of the neshama as it is in a body, not just Hashem's mitzvahs. And this the neshama's involvement is like the mirror, whereas the mitzvahs are like the pure light, the magnifying glass, the clear glass that you can see through. And this is also why with Sefiras Haomer it says that we count Mimachras Shabbos from the day after the holy day. But Shabbos is a mitzvah. Mimachras Shabbos means beyond mitzvah. The neshamas is beyond mitzvahs. Then we explained that there's a difference between the shepherds and the princes, that on one hand, the princes are higher because they reach the makif energy, the beyond energy, whereas the shepherds give us something we can take in, which is a lower energy. On the other hand, the princes they give us a high energy, but we don't take it in. And the reason is because the princes themselves come from a high spiritual source, but the external of that level, whereas the shepherds come from a lower spiritual source, but they come from the internal of that level. Like the difference between the fruit of a more regular tree or the leaves of an exquisite, rare and beautiful tree. So on one hand, the leaves are from a greater tree, but on the other hand, only the leaves, whereas the other one, it might be a regular tree, but it's actual fruit. And this is why you have some people who are very holy and pure, but they never become Jewish leaders. They never become Torah leaders. And that's because they come from a high spiritual source, but the external, whereas you might have others who are Torah leaders of the generation, and they're not perfect, but they're still the Torah leaders, and that's because they might come from a lower spiritual source, but the internal of that level, and therefore they're able to teach. The idea of teaching is internal. Now, the idea of 8 is also connected to within the 13 attributes, the Yud Gimel Midas, the first 8 of them are the main makif ones, the ones beyond, whereas the 9th one, which is la alafim literally means that we said the 8th one is Rav Chessed, that he Hashem guards his kindness, and then the 9th one, la alafim, for 2,000 generations. But alafim also means to teach, alefcha chachma alefcha bina, which is teaching is where we give over ideas in a way that's understood, which is the internal level. So it's a less powerful light that we're able to take in. Also, the idea of an aleph is there's a yud above, which represents the light of the mashpia, the one giving, the yud at the bottom, the recipient, and a vav in the middle. So it represents giving over in a organized, systematic, and therefore limited way. Now, the Alter Rebbe just notes at the end of the Maimer that there's a whole nother explanation that 7 refers to the 7 midas, which they were impacted and damaged by the break in Sefiras Haomer in the world of Tehu, where the lights were too powerful, and that was the midas were too powerful and broke, whereas 8 represents Bina, which is beyond the midas, and there was no breakage in Bina or higher. And therefore the princes, because they're 8, they're more effective against impurity than the shepherds. And therefore, when it talks about the princes and the 8 princes and 7 shepherds being our protection and shield against Asher, the princes are the more powerful protection. Next Maimer. It begins with the pasuk that with you is the source of life, and in your light we will see light. And he notes that nira could both mean we will see and it will be seen. He also asks how come with Imcha it means with you is the source of light. Why does it say with you? Why not you are the source of light? Wisdom of Torah of Chanukah, it talks about the Menorah, this vision of a Menorah of gold with the 7 branches and 2 olive trees on each side. So either way, the Navi is asked, do you know what this represents? He says no. And then the angel says, Zed Dvar Hashem el Zerubbabel, this is the word of Hashem. And Chassidus explains that it's not just this is the word of Hashem, and then he'll explain the Menorah, but the Menorah is the word of Hashem, meaning that the Menorah is what lights up, illuminates the souls of the Jewish people with love and passion towards Hashem, and therefore the Menorah is the Dvar Hashem, the word of Hashem, because the source of Neshamas Yisrael, the source of our souls, is the word of Hashem, which in Kabbalah, the word and speech is connected to Malchus, and that's the source of all our souls. And it's gold because gold is connected to Gvura, which and the side of the left. Now, there's a pasuk in Hallel from Tehillim. We say Hamakbil Hasheves Hamashpili Liris, that Hashem is high, so high that he can sit down and descend to see Bashamayim Varetz, what's happening in heaven and earth. So there's 2 interpretations of this pasuk. Either Hashem descends to see in the heaven and in the earth, which is that, or that through heaven and earth, that's how he descends to see. So to explain, we'll start with the first explanation. So Hashem is really beyond place, of course. And when we talk about descending, we're talking about in level. And how does Hashem descend and get involved in this world? So Hashem really essentially is beyond. Hashem is unlimited, and the whole idea of worlds and creation has no impact and doesn't change Hashem. Hashem gets involved through mitzvahs, and all the mitzvahs that we do, Hashem does as well. And therefore, when we say Hashem sanctified us with His mitzvahs, we mean not just His commandments, but the commandments that He does Himself. And that moves Hashem from a state where He's really beyond to look down with involvement and actively caring. And that's the idea of waking up, that we say to Hashem, wake up from your sleep. Hashem's never asleep, but sleep is a state of being removed, not getting involved, and anything can be. It's fine. It doesn't make a difference to Hashem. And being awake is about being actively involved. And that happens through mitzvahs. And therefore, mitzvahs are like this magnifying glass that they make something which is small appear big. So we're really small and insignificant compared to Hashem. But through the mitzvahs, we become bigger and we become important. And then he just concludes the paragraph that the mitzvahs require kavanah. That means when we do a mitzvah, we have to have intention and try to arouse a passionate intention, realizing that really Hashem is beyond, and this nothing really should touch Hashem. But nevertheless, now we have an opportunity to do a mitzvah which delights Hashem, which invites Hashem's involvement, and therefore we should be very excited when doing a mitzvah.